Bilbo has a party and vanishes before he can wish Frodo happy birthday. And when Frodo returns home, it is to find his birthday present. A wraith-attracting, ghoulish article of hideous power. Happy birthday, Frodo. Movie Gandalf then proves himself far cleverer than book Gandalf by realising immediately that it must be a ring of power, and a pretty nasty one at that. He dashes off immediately, thereby saving 17 years. Which is fortunate because, let's face it, who's going to sit through 17 years and 3 hours of movie? It'll probably end up in the extended DVD. Meanwhile, in his dark tower, Sauron tortures a set of Gollum's arms. The only bit they could catch. Gollum's arms reveal the words, Shire and Baggins. The Nazgul are sent out, and thinking that that was the correct pronunciation, ask everyone for directions to Shire. Sauron sits on his tower, now only a huge eye of flame, and thanks his lucky stars that he didn't end up a huge nose of flame. Would have been much harder to instill fear. He thinks back to his younger days at Evil Overlord College, when he was a huge arse of flame, but he was young and it was a dare. And he sings, ring, ring, why don't you give me a call? Do, 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 do. Meanwhile, over in Minas Tirith, the off-white city, Gandalf enters a library full of ancient tinder-dry scrolls with a huge flaming torch. Gandalf is wearing the Ring of Fire, Narya, so he probably doesn't care if the library burns down around his ears, except for the fact that his nose would probably melt. The librarian, who recognises himself as a walk-on role and therefore expendable, flees. Film Nazgul are proving themselves much scarier than book Nazgul by actually killing at least one hobbit. Although, to be fair, we don't actually see them chop down the sheriff. Perhaps they just lopped the tip off his top hat. The handicap that the Nazgul are working under, however, would become apparent if the camera lingered after they had galloped off. Just behind them is a huge cart, on which is Sauron's full body contact chamber orchestra, armed with viol, bows and elf-skin timpanis, a brass section consisting mainly of knuckles, and a whole legion of the thrice-dreaded orcish arse flute. Wherever the Nazgul attempt to sneak, the SFBCCO are there, playing Mozart's little-known piece, Symphony for Loud, Unsubtle Bastards. Gandalf now proves himself much more careless than book Gandalf and leaves Frodo to walk, despite going pretty much the same way on a horse. Perhaps he thinks Frodo needed the exercise. At this point, we are introduced to the other hobbits. Sam, a Devonshire hobbit. Pippin, an Irish, Scottish, Gaelic hobbit. And Merry, your guess is as good as mine. From this, we discover that the Shire clearly has a healthy immigration policy, at least for anyone less than 4 feet tall. They meet in Farmer Maggot's field and are chased by an automated scythe. The other hobbits, knowing Pippin well and seeing him with an armful of humorously shaped vegetables, are so amazed that he doesn't stick one in his ear that they fall down a cliff. The hobbits catch the Fuckle-Knuckle ferry debris. While somewhere nearby, Tom Bombadil sings sadly, "Ho there, Derry Down, Welly Town, my darlings. I could have been a movie star. Why'd you forsake me, Peter?" Goldberry is sorry and she says she'll do the nude scene. Cotton Top, Hip Hop, Raggle-Daggin' Flopkins. I bet we could have done it if we'd give the part to Hopkins. At Bree, Frodo discovers new respect for his uncle Bilbo when he puts on the ring. as well as making you invisible, it turns the world into a giant grey blancmange, with the sound of Concord taking off in the foreground. Frodo is amazed that his uncle managed to kill all those spiders and steal from a dragon while all these bloody distractions were going on. They meet Strider, who forgot to get an introduction from Gandalf, and decides that the best way to win Frodo's trust is to bounce him off a few walls, thus showing the diplomatic skills that will eventually take him to kingship. Thank you. Later, he extends his hobbit baiting by throwing apples at Pippin's head, perhaps as some sort of in-joke for fruiterers. It's very good. Are you a fruiterer? You're not? Everyone look at him. Stand up and show us your outfit. Oh, that's a traditional Middle-earth garb, isn't it? He's an accountant hobbit. Meanwhile... Thank you. Back in... That's one of them orcish ass flutes. Oh, you can tell you're at a folk festival. Oh, hold on, I'm not at a folk festival anymore, am I? Oh, God, time lapse. I'm in trouble now. Meanwhile, back in Saruman's tower, the wisest of the Astari is still in a grumpy mood after his interior decorators managed to con him into taking their entire stock of obsidian chip wallpaper. Gandalf, who is meant to be clever, not only misses the obvious clue that the tower has been painted black, but Christopher Lee. Well, come on. He always plays the villain. Well, duh. Anyway, Saruman reveals a Palantir, the ancient palm pilot of Numenor, and Gandalf, sensing the glowing ears of Sauron, finally clicks. Oh, he's a baddie! The two beards fight. Saruman not only wipes the floor with Gandalf, he rotary polishes it as well. And he sends him hurtling upwards to the top of Orthanc. It is now that we discover Saruman's secret. Orthanc has no floors in it. It's just a huge hollow tower. Perhaps he's compensating for the length of his staff. Northwards. Deciding to camp at the ruins of the watchtower of Amon Sul because it's the most obvious place to camp for miles around and the Black Riders will never find them there. The Black Riders find them there. The orcish ass flutes are sounded and the riders attack. Strider sets fire to the Black Riders, who become orange flickery riders and run away. But not before the Witch King, who looks like a zombie who's sucked one too many grapefruit down the ages, very carefully misses Frodo's heart with a knife. The knife turns to smoke in Strider's hand, and he recalls the Hobbiton surgeon Gaffer's warning, smoking knives is bad for your health. This turns out to be true. And Frodo begins to enter the spirit world, which to all appearances seems to consist largely of sweat and pus. Arwen appears just in time, dressed in riding gear, although Frodo, half in the spirit realm, sees her in her elven form as Arwen evening dress. Strider chews some Athelas weed and Sam asks if that will help Frodo. Strider replies that it doesn't really help wounds, but it's making him feel a lot happier, thanks for asking. Arwen diagnoses Frodo's trouble. Clearly his contact lenses that are killing him. And she rides the 200 miles to Rivendell in 3 minutes. On the way, she passes Glorfindel, who gives her an ancient old elvish two-fingered greeting. At the fords of Bruinen, the Black Riders become very briefly pulpy Red Riders and are swept away. Frodo awakes to find Gandalf and asks where the wizard has been. Gandalf recalls the top of the Tower of Orthanc. We see him catch his 29th moth. But since he's now full, he asks this one to go away, you hear? The moth, having no ears, mistakes his instruction for Gway here and sends the giant eagle. Gandalf, deciding to nobly end it all rather than to bow to Saruman, hurls himself off the top of Orthanc and is pleasantly surprised to find himself up to his arse in feathers. However, he tells Frodo none of this and merely says he was delayed. So Frodo probably thinks he lost his car keys or something. At this point, we meet Elrond Half-Elven, who in this movie is pretending he is now full Elven, because otherwise he won't get on one of them boats going to the west. Elrond calls his council and we meet several important characters. Legolas of the Woodland Realm, and Elf Prince, who can't hold his drink. Has been sent instead of his unfortunate older brother, Armalus, who can't hold his bow. Their younger brother, Arsalus, has already lost his seat on the council. Gimli, son of Gloin, who has come a long way to try to lose his childhood nickname. Grimly said, well, you get the idea. He has a deep distrust of elves, since he went to bed drunk the previous night in the communal guest sleeping area and woke up with his beard in braids. Boromir of Gondor, the world's unluckiest man, who failed even to inherit his dad's Númenórean blood, but did get his receding hairline and huge conch. Conch. Boromir spent his entire childhood getting lost until his dad gave him the base kazoo of Gondor, a sort of primitive global tracking system. Being the only one at the council who has a mere human blood, Boromir is snared by the ring. It might explain why he keeps standing up. As the 9 boys desperately try to out-testosterone each other in the volunteering frenzy, the music swells. Hey, the Fellowship of the Ring song.